Hey, hello everybody. Fundamental P back here again with, I believe, what is episode 6 of the Fundamentals of Music. And man, I'm so enjoying this material that we're discussing and that I'm discussing with you, and that I hope that we're exploring together. I hope that you are that you've been here since the beginning and that you're continuing to watch these videos and that you're getting something out of this, because I sure am, and I'm really enjoying this. So I keep lying to you, not on purpose, but I keep saying, oh, in the next video, and then these other ideas come up, and I try to think about the logical order in which I should discuss these things, and so I think at one point I said, oh, in the next video I'm going to cover major scales. I'm actually going to do that in episode 7. I'm going to talk more about triads right now. I can't help it. I'm so excited about these triads that we discussed in the last episode. And there's a little bit more that I really want to tell you about triads. And I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start on the piano, and then I'm going to move to my iPad, and I'm going to really I'm going to sort of chart some stuff out. Meaning I'm going to try to really write down some of the information about these triads that we're discovering. And I'm going to do the same thing with the major scales, actually. So I'm going to explore a couple more major scales with you, and I'm going to look at some patterns. And then once we see the patterns, I'm going to switch over to the iPad, and I'm going to use the iPad and an Apple Pencil I have to really try to write down in a really logical way, sort of summarize all the information that we're discussing about these triads and about the major scale. So anyway, let's get started today. One of the things we saw that we could play the major scale by playing the white notes of the keyboard, starting at C and ending at C. So this is something I think most of you are pretty familiar with now. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So that's the C major scale. We started with C, we ended with C. All we played were white notes. And in the last episode, what I suggested to you is that if we played the 1, the 3, and the 5, and by the way, remember we said 1, 3, and 5 simply means first note of the major scale, third note of the major scale, fifth note of the major scale, right? And the short hand for that is just to call it the 1, the 3, and the 5. That's really an easy way to refer to those notes of the major scale. So anyway, if we play the 1, the 3, and the 5, we end up with a triad. And I want to talk a little bit about that triad, talk a little bit more, I should say, about that triad. And then what I suggested to you is that rather than the root of that triad being C, if we have the root of another triad being D, then we have a different triad. We have a triad built on the 2, actually. So this is a triad built on the 1. Here's a triad built on the 2, and then we have a triad built on the 3, on the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7. And then once we get to the octave, that's the identical triad to the one that we started with. It's just an octave higher. It's just an octave higher. Okay, so let's talk about this. Now, I think I discussed this in one of the last videos, but I want to talk about it again because I just find it so interesting, and I think it's useful information for you. Remember that this triad here, it contains a couple different things. It contains this interval here, okay, which is a major third. Okay, so it contains this major third. It contains this perfect fifth. And it contains what we discovered is a minor third. And let's talk about why. Well, this is a major third because it's 4 half steps, or it's 2 whole steps. So watch this. Here's a half step, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It was 4 half steps. That's what that interval spanned. And of course, 4 half steps is equivalent to 2 whole steps. And we can see that pretty clearly. Here's a whole step and here's another whole step. So this major third interval spans 2 whole steps or 4 half steps. Hadn't even thought about that. Let's see what the perfect fifth spans. That's interesting. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half steps is what this perfect fifth interval spans. That's interesting. And then we have, when we play this triad, right, we have that major third, we have the perfect fifth, but then we also have this. And if we start on E and we count the number of half steps, we get 1, 2, 3 half steps here. Okay? Remember, 4 half steps resulted in a major third, and 3 half steps, if you remember, results in a minor third. So look at what we have here. We have a major third with a minor third stacked on top of it, is how some people like to describe that, right? So we have this major third with C and E, then we have a minor third with C and G, and then we have a perfect fifth with C and G. So we have 3 things going on at one time. A major third, a minor third, and a perfect fifth. Okay? Well, this is what I wanted to tell you that I didn't really tell you last time. When you have a major third with a minor third stacked above it, that gives this particular triad a particular quality, and it's called a major triad. Okay, so what this triad is, if you want to name it, the formal name for this triad is a C major triad. Okay. Now, you might say to me, Fundamental P, is there a D major triad? Is there an E major triad? Is there an A flat major triad? Absolutely. Because if you start on any of those notes and you build a major triad and then on top of that you stack a minor triad, you will end up, excuse me, that was wrong. If you on any one of those notes, if you pick any of the 12 notes and you build on top of that a major third and then you stack on top of that a minor third, you will create a major triad, right? So there are 12 major triads since there are 12 notes, okay? So maybe I should just do that for you, okay? So here's the C major triad, right? It's the major third with a minor third stacked on top. So let's just take D, for example. Okay, well then let's see what a D major triad would sound like. Remember, we need to go 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we need to know. So this is the first part of the D major triad, and then after that we need a minor third. So we need 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3. So look at that. There's a D major triad. Okay. So we could do this, 10 more times, and we could build 10 more major triads. I'm not going to do that, okay? But I just want to point out that this is a C major triad. Now, let's check out what this triad is, okay? Well, if you were paying attention, not if you were paying attention, but if you followed what I just was telling you, it's not a major triad because we discovered the D major triad would be D, F sharp, and A. Right, that would be a D major triad. And instead, this triad that uses the 2nd, the 4th, and the 6th notes of the C major scale, right? Let's see what this triad is. Okay, well this first interval spans 1, 2, 3 half steps, and the second interval spans 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. So that's interesting. This D triad, unlike the C major triad, which had a major third and a minor third, this D triad actually has a minor third with a major third stacked on top. Whoa. Okay. It has a minor third with a major third stacked on top. And then of course it has this perfect fifth as well, just like the C major triad had. Well, I'm going to cut to the chase, okay? When you have a major third with a minor third stacked on top, you get a major triad. When you have a minor third with a major third stacked on top, you get a minor triad. So it turns out this is called a D minor triad. Okay? Let's keep going. What's this one that we looked at the other day? Well, I know it's an E triad because it has E in the root. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3. That first one is a minor third, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Aha! This is another minor triad because it's got a minor third with a major third stacked on top. Okay, so this is an E minor triad. So far we have a C major, D minor, E minor. Should we keep going? Should we? Okay. And again, I'm going to summarize some of this using my iPad at the end of this video, just so you know, so you can be like, what? I was following what you're saying, but now I forgot it all. I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna switch to the iPad at some point during this video, and I'm gonna really summarize all of this stuff that we're talking about. So it's kind of like I tell my students in class, you don't need to take notes right now. Just listen, try to follow along, and then at the end, I will summarize this all as best as I can on the iPad so you can actually see it written down. Okay, let's keep going. I'm so excited here. How about this F triad? The heck is this thing? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Holy smoke. This is a major third and a minor third, just like that original C triad. So this must be an F major triad. Okay. How about the G triad? I don't know. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Same thing. This is a major third with a minor third on top. So this is a D major triad. We only have 2 more, by the way. So we have major, minor, minor. Well, shoot, my camera turned off in the middle of that episode, but that's okay. I'm gonna backtrack, and I think where we were, I think that we had just built a triad on the 5th note of the major scale, which is G, right? And I think we looked at this triad, and we discovered this first third. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps here, and then 1, 2, 3 here. So this is a major triad with a minor triad stacked on top. So this, in fact, is a major third with a minor third stacked on top. So that makes this a G major triad. Okay. So we had a C major triad, a D minor triad, an E minor triad, an F major triad, and now a G major triad, and there are only 2 left. Okay. The next one is this triad built on A, the 6th note of the major scale. So we could say it's built on the 6th. Okay, the triad built on the 6th. Check it out. 1, 2, 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a minor third with a major third stacked on top, making this an A minor triad. Okay. And finally, the triad built on the 7th note of the major scale, or what we would say is the triad built on the 7th. And in this case, the 7th is B, but take a look, okay? Take a close look, as a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen. Check this out. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Holy smoke. This is a minor third with another minor third stacked on top, okay? So the fact is, this triad is neither major nor minor. It's something different, right? The major triad had a major third with a minor third. The minor triad had a minor third with a major third, okay? This triad has a minor third with another minor third, which is pretty cool, okay? And it happens to be called a diminished triad. So this is a B diminished triad, okay? So C major triad, D minor triad, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and B diminished. Okay, B diminished. Fascinating. Okay, so as promised, I'm going to end here soon. I'm going to end the keyboard section of this video, and I'm going to move to the iPad where I'm going to summarize all of this entire discussion about triads. I'm going to try to summarize it in a way that makes sense. And I hope it makes sense. And if not, drop me a comment. Let me know, hey, that was totally confusing. Or, yeah, that really made sense. Thank you. But check it out. I just want to point something out. I keep mentioning patterns. And so I don't know if any of you out there noticed this, but we had a major triad with a minor triad stacked on top. We had a minor triad with a major triad stacked on top. And then we had a minor triad with another minor triad stacked on top. So I wonder if any of you are out there thinking, fundamental P. Do we ever have a major triad, major third? I think I keep interchanging triad and third. I apologize. Okay, I apologize. What I meant, I'm going to say this again because I think I said it incorrectly. If we have a major third and a minor third, that's a major triad. If we have a minor third with a major third stacked on top, that's a minor triad. And if we have a minor third with another minor third, then that's a diminished triad. Okay. So I wonder if any of you are thinking, I wonder if we ever have a major third with a major third stacked on top, right? That would be the sort of fourth option, the fourth possibility. And the answer is yes. Now, but there's a caveat. Like the answer is yes. However, these triads were all built upon the notes of a major scale. And in doing so, we did not end up with anything other than major, minor, and diminished. But I do want to tell you there is something called an augmented triad, okay? And it is, in fact, a major third with another major third stacked on top, okay? And there's an interesting result of this. And I'll just show you with C just for fun. So here's a major third. And remember, this second third was a minor third, but what if we just decide to make it another major third, okay? So here's a major third with a major third stacked on top of it, okay? Well, the result is that this perfect fifth becomes an augmented fifth. Okay, so if you take that top third and you change it from a minor third to a major third, which is fine, it's fine for us to do that, one result is that we change that perfect fifth to an augmented fifth. So check this out though, that is called an augmented triad. So in this case, this is a C augmented triad, C, E, and G sharp. Isn't that interesting? So even though it wasn't recording, what I had said to you a few minutes ago, and I looked down and noticed the camera had stopped recording, and I'm like, oh, it's a bummer. But anyway, what I had started to say was, I'd love for you to think about how, again, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. How do these triads make you feel, right? Certainly, exploring these different triads, I hope, is expanding your musical palette, right? It's giving you access to different, tools, I guess we could call them, musical tools that can allow you to create sounds that you could combine in a way to create music. But anyway, check this out. For the purposes of just this last discussion, I want you to think about this for a moment. Here's the sound of a C major triad. Okay, now here's the sound of a C minor triad. Here's a C diminished triad. And finally, here's a C augmented triad. So, they have very different sounds. And I guess I could also play these, with the root lowered an octave just to see how that sounds. So here's a major triad. Here's a minor triad. Here's a diminished triad. And then the last one, an augmented triad. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to switch gears now. I'm going to pull out the iPad, and the end of this video will be me on the iPad trying to summarize all of this entire discussion about triads in a way that hopefully will be organized and will be easy for us to sort of look at it and in sort of, I hope one page on the iPad be able to say, oh, look, there's all that information we just discussed about triads, okay? I'm super excited. I think what's going to come up next, which would be episode 7, we're really going to dig into the major scales, and we're going to notice, again, patterns. We're going to look for patterns, and using those patterns, we're going to switch to the iPad and see if we can just use the patterns to come up with all of the notes of all of the major scales. And I think we're going to discover some interesting stuff. From there, I think what I'd like to do is enter into a discussion perhaps about the major scale modes. Okay, the major scale modes, and I think that'll be a fun discussion too. So anyway, hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying this. I sure am. And if you like the video, please like it. Hit the little thumbs up, and you know, I hope you've all subscribed to the channel. But if you know of anybody who you think would be interested in this, please, you know, share it, share the links, and let them know that they can find this content on YouTube. And it's at this point should be free for you to access this. So, all right, everybody, take care. I'll be back in just a moment on the iPad. Hey everybody, Fundamental P here. I'm back on my iPad, and I just wanted to summarize the discussion that we just had about triads. In particular, we're going to focus on the triads that were built on the notes of the major scale, but sort of just to start a general discussion about triads. One of the things we discovered is that if a triad consisted of a major third stacked on top of, a minor third stacked on top of a major third, right? So if you have the root and then the major third, and then from that major third, if you then move to the minor third, that results in a major triad, right? So a major third with a minor third stacked on top, that resulted in a major triad. And alternatively, if we have a minor third, and on top of that we stack a major third, which we saw today, you end up with a minor triad, both of which also contain a perfect fifth, right? Both of which also contain a perfect fifth. And then the third thing we saw today was a minor third with a minor third stacked on top of it. And the only place we saw this was with the seventh scale degree, which in this case happened to be B because we were in the key of C. But on that seventh note of the scale, if we build a triad, we end up with a minor third and a minor third, and I told you that that was a diminished triad. Isn't that interesting? Okay. And then now I'm going to put a little star here. This did not result from building triads on the notes of a major scale, but just for the sake of discussion, just for fun, because we like to think about patterns, what if we had a major third with another major third stacked on top of it? And one of the things that results from that is that your perfect fifth turns into an augmented fifth, and then in fact it's called an augmented triad. And as a matter of fact, I believe in the case of the diminished triad, the perfect fifth becomes a diminished fifth. And I don't have the keyboard in front of me, and I'm just sort of, this is just occurring to me right now. But let's see here. The notes are B. Yeah, absolutely, because the notes of that diminished triad were B, D, and F, right? And F is the diminished fifth relative to B, right? A regular fifth would be F sharp. So yes, that's absolutely correct. In the case of that diminished triad, perfect fifth becomes a diminished fifth. Probably hence the name of that triad, right? A diminished triad. And in this case, the perfect became an augmented fifth. Sorry about my writing. I'm in the classroom and I turn around and I can't even read my own writing, which is a problem. But the perfect fifth becomes an augmented fifth. So isn't that fascinating there? Now, those are just general formulas for triads, right? This is how we build a major triad. This is how we build a minor triad. This is how we build a diminished triad. This is how we build an augmented triad. And isn't that neat that these, at least the major, the minor, and the diminished triad, they just happened as we started building triads using the notes of the major scale. I mean, these just sort of were a natural result of building triads on using the notes of the major scale. Now, with that in mind, when we built a triad on the one, on the root of the major scale, in this case C, we ended up with a major triad. When we built a triad on the 2, we ended up with a minor triad, okay? On the 3, in this case it was E, right? It was a minor triad as well. When we built the triad on the 4th note of this major scale, which was F, we ended up with another major triad. On the 5th, another major. On the 6th, we ended up with one more minor triad, and then on the 7th, which in this case was B, this diminished. There's my handwriting again. Look out, everybody. Whoa, okay. We had a diminished. So listen, I mentioned this in the video earlier. See if you can follow my reasoning here. When we played a triad using the first note of the major scale as the root of the triad, it just ended up being a major triad. The second, the triad built on the 2nd was a minor, the 3rd was a minor, the 4th was a major, the 5th was a major, the 6th was a minor, the 7th was a diminished. What I was suggesting to you is that because we were in the key of C, because we were building these triads on the notes of a C major scale, the 7th note of the major scale happened to be B, and that's why that B triad was diminished. That's why that triad ended up being a B diminished triad. Well, let's say, for example, we learned that the notes of the G major scale, right? G major scale is, the notes are identical to the C major scale, except F becomes F sharp. We're going to discuss this in more detail in the next episode, but check this out. For the G major scale, the notes of the G major scale are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, meaning the 7th note of the G major scale is F sharp. So isn't it true that when we build the triad on that 7th note of the G major scale, which is F sharp, shouldn't that triad be a diminished triad? Yes, just like the B triad built on the C major scale was a diminished triad, well then the F sharp triad built on the 7th note of the G major scale should be diminished as well. So that, think about this. If you were like, well, I need to know how to play a diminished triad, well then just go play a G major scale and build a triad on that 7th note of the scale and you'll have it, okay? Of course, kind of an easier way to do it would be just start on F sharp and then do a minor third and then another minor third on top of that, and you'll have it, right? You'll have the triad. That's another way to think of it. But there are just so many different ways to sort of approach music at this point in our discussion, and I just find it fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So anyway, folks, that's it for now. We've talked about triads, super cool, in my opinion, super cool. And we've talked about the inversions too. Those are so important, those inversions, I think, because they completely change the sound of the triad just by moving those notes around, right? And so we talked about the 1st and 2nd inversions, and those are pretty cool too. So anyway, folks, that's all for now. Stay tuned. I'm going to be super excited about our next discussion about major scales. We've already discussed major scales once, but this is going to be like major scales part 2. And we're really going to look for patterns when it comes to the notes of the major scales, and which notes in particular become sharp, which become flat,
and how that works, and maybe we'll talk about the circle of fifths. I'm not sure. Maybe it'll just sort of naturally evolve. It'll just naturally sort of evolve out of our discussion. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, I'm looking forward to it. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Again, thanks for tuning in. Like the video, subscribe, get your friends to subscribe if you think they'd be interested. That would be helpful. So I'll keep posting content. All right, everybody, take care.